Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to NFL Elite Banner episode 500. No, I think it's 14. Feels like 500. But yeah, so Freight Train, how is life treating you this week? Everything's pretty good, pretty busy.
Very, very busy. With work and at home, with 5 children, it's always busy. You know what I mean? So, I'm just sick and tired of the rain. I mean, it feels like it's been raining every single day. I'm about to build an ark and start grabbing two of every species to, start a new life with here soon.
Well, so I mean, anybody in the comments section, feel free to guess who it was that caused the show to start at 8:19 p.m. And I'll give 0 cents to anybody who can get it right. And if you're guessing Freight Train, you're right. Anyway,
Right, yeah.
It wouldn't be NFL Elite Banner if it wasn't for me, messing with Freight Train for the entire first 5 minutes.
Well, we just wanted to see how many people were actually waiting for us to pop on. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to pop on and have 0 watchers right off the rip. Like, we popped on, boom, we already have 2 watchers guaranteed. You know what I mean?
I think, well, that's just for our group page. I mean, it's funny. My personal Facebook page seems to get the most traction. And I'm like, please, for the love of God, go on Facebook, search NFL Elite Banner, and join the page. Jesus.
Yeah. I'm starting to think these people don't like me. Like, I'm the problem here. Like, you don't want to come on here because of me.
I'm just kidding. No.
Is it because I'm a Steelers fan? I mean, I need answers here.
I mean, that would be logical. I mean, that'd be logical. I mean, you're a Steelers fan. What do you expect people to think? All jokes aside, though, Craig from Patton, appreciate you, man. Always nice to have you support the show. So definitely appreciate you there, man. You've definitely been a cool one. And if you notice, so WrestleMania was this weekend. We're not going to get into WWE stuff, don't get me wrong. But I did go to a WrestleMania. Pretty wild, right? And if you look at the bottom left corner, it looks like Craig from Patton visited the Rocky statue down by the art museum. It's pretty sweet. He has like his own little location now. There's a little path and all that.
I see that.
Rocky's no joke in Philly, man. That statue's been there for a very long time.
I'm sorry, but if you haven't, honestly, dude, if you're an American and you haven't watched the Rocky Balboa movies and the Rocky movies,
does that count as American?
It's like a must. It's like a rite of passage.
Well, there's like 3 things you have to do if you're an American. You got to at least try apple pie. You have to watch baseball once in a while, and you have to watch the Rocky series. If you don't do those 3 things, get out.
Right. Yeah. Just hits the next ride out of town. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
At least you didn't say like you have to eat a cheesesteak.
No, that's a Philadelphia thing. If you're born in Philly, you better have at least one cheesesteak in your life. Or you're gonna get roasted. I don't care if you're lactose intolerant. I don't care if you're vegan. You better suck it up. You're gonna break being vegan at least one time for 10 seconds. And I'm not talking no tofu cheesesteaks. That doesn't count.
What about chicken? Like, does chicken count like a chicken cheesesteak?
I don't count it. It's not a cheesesteak. That's why people have to specify chicken cheesesteak. I mean,
it's just like a chicken.
If you have to put chicken, like, you know what? I hate. My fiance loves cheesesteak hoagies. I'm sorry, that's not a cheesesteak. I'm sorry, but it's not. That is not a cheesesteak. If you have to have something before, if there's an adjective explaining it, or there's something that follows it, like chicken cheesesteak or cheesesteak hoagie, it's not a cheesesteak. Fan, Shane tuning in. Hey man, how you doing? Hope all is well. Benjamin Bennett, another Steelers fan, big time Steelers fan over there. Hey there, pal. Thank you for tuning in.
Go Steelers,
anybody
baby.
Anybody else who's watching, I've been meaning to do this. Make sure you guys put in the comment section who your team is. I'm always curious to see what kind of people we have watching the show, who your teams are, and then feel free to give why if you want to. Maybe you can just talk some trash. I love seeing trash talk in the comment section. But that being said, so I mean, a couple of things that were newsworthy, nothing too crazy. Somebody did die today, but I'm not going to mention it because I think it's way too much of a topic. I thought about making it a topic. I thought about it last second. I was like, you know what? I just don't think it's a good idea. It's just down a dark road. But just know somebody died today at 76 years old. Everybody knows who it is.
And some people forget that he was actually a football player.
Yes, he was Hall of Fame running back for the Buffalo Bills. Also considered one of the greatest college running backs of all time as well. But we will not get into that because if the glove doesn't fit, don't wear it. So I'm not going to put on the show. You see that? You see what
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you like that? But yeah, he couldn't have done it. He wasn't wearing the right size glove. Dean Fail says Steelers Nation. Fan to fan. mistake. He said OJ. I'm not saying no names. Dean said he did it.
He did it. Yeah.
Craig says, you guys know me, Steelers Eagles fan here because I won a Pennsylvania Super Bowl. I would love to see that. It would be the next Super Bowl win for the Birds, and I could really use one of those right now.
I like how you feel so confident about that.
I like to
let's do it up.
Ready? Wait, watch. Ready? Close your eyes first. Close your eyes for a second.
You know what we need to do.
Hold on, wait. Close your eyes. Ready? Fourth quarter, 2-minute drive. The Steelers are going in, and Russell Wilson throws an interception at the 1-yard line, and the Eagles hold on and win the Super Bowl. Does that sound familiar?
No.
It sounds like the Patriots game. Malcolm Butler.
But it wasn't in a Steelers uniform.
You're right. He'll probably throw it incomplete instead on 4th and goal, and that's how it's going to end.
No, Arthur Smith likes to run the ball.
Dean says, would love a Pennsylvania Super Bowl. Should have happened a few years back. There's been a few chances for that, to be honest with you. I mean, there was
honestly, you know what we should do? You know what we should do? Because we have a Twitch account. Me and you need to get on and play an Eagles versus Steelers Madden game and put it on there, and there's our Super Bowl. And the cream will rise to the top.
I'll absolutely trash you.
Cream of the crop.
Only thing getting creamed is going to be your sense of ego over there when we're playing Madden. I shouldn't talk trash. I haven't played Madden in a little bit. I'm probably rusty, so I have to play a couple games by myself first. But one of the first things to hit on here and talk about a payday, Josh Allen, defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, received a 5-year, $150 million deal after being franchise tagged in one of the first 2 days of free agency. So that was a huge one. Mm-hmm. I think that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. I mean, that's a lot of money. 25 a year.
But I mean, Josh Allen really is one of the young, talented pass rushers in the league.
Yeah, but I think they guaranteed 90 mil of it or something like that. It's like some crazy high amount of money.
I mean, the thing is, though, pass rushers are very, very coveted in the National Football League. So when you have one, you have to overpay to keep them in town. You just have to. It's the name of the game. For
all you Pittsburgh people out there, the Philadelphia Phillies are up 3-0 over your beloved little Pittsburgh Pirates. I thought it's going to go all weekend. Anyway, next little piece of news. We talked about this a little bit when the first news break came out. Rashee Rice obviously was involved in that accident. We weren't sure what was going to come of it, what happened, but there has been an arrest warrant filed about an hour or two ago. And he is facing 8 charges. They have not announced. I didn't look and see what they were. It doesn't really matter. But due to that accident, there are 8 charges pending that all are leading to an arrest warrant. So clearly he must have been under the influence or something, because that's a lot of charges.
Assume, yes. Yeah, very much so. I mean, and like we've said last week, you don't understand why these guys can't learn from other people's mistakes. You know what I mean? It wasn't but 2 years ago you had the Henry Ruggs accident that shook the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would think these guys would take notes and be like, you know what? I don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to end up like that. I know, when you have money, it's easy to say, I can get this fancy sports car. I can get this.
I think the problem is
you drive like a jackass. You know what I mean?
I think the problem is, though, and as an insurance agent, for example, it's so hard to sell the value of insurance to people because it's one of those, oh, that's never going to happen to me thing. I hear it all the time. Oh, I've never had a home claim, so why do I care? I'm like, hey, well, this has claim forgiveness. Well, I'll never use it. I've never had a home claim. I'm like, yeah, yet. It's these are things that you do just in case. The problem is, I think what happens is these guys have such a big ego. The cars are fast. They have all this money. They can do whatever they want. They can do no wrong. And a lot of them are driving in the city they play football in. So they get a warning, maybe give an autograph to a cop's kid, and then off they go. But this is what happens when you're entitled and you feel as though you own the world. Things like this happen, and that's why we're not seeing anybody learn from it. We're seeing quite the opposite, actually. If anything, it's more and more court cases every time we turn on the news. Throwing your girlfriend off of 6-story buildings and all kinds of crazy stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, so obviously, that's a piece of news there. That's a shame. One of the big things, the very first ever game will be played in South America this year. It is going to be, everybody thought it was going to be the Eagles and Browns. I'm glad it wasn't, because that would have been a boring-ass game. It will be the Philadelphia Eagles, the Green Bay Packers, Thursday. It is week 1. It'll be the first game of the season, and that will kick off in Sao Paulo, Brazil. How do you feel about that, by the way? I'm not a fan.
I don't like having a Brazil game for week 1. I feel like you need to give these teams adequate time to kind of get into the swing of things with the NFL season, and then you're adding a long plane ride week 1, getting over there, and then a long plane ride back. You know what that, you're going into week 2 with the chips stacked against you. You know what I mean? Like that jet lag is a real thing.
Yeah,
you know
no,
I mean?
It is, and I think the time thing sucks too a lot of the time. I know that's not gonna be too bad. I know Brazil's not that bad, but like these England games where you have to like wake up at 8 a.m. so you can prepare for a game at 9. I mean, luckily for being an Eagles fan, I don't know if we played there yet. We might have played there once, but it sucks. I gotta wake up 4.5 hours earlier so I can watch my Eagles game. I mean, like,
right?
I get it. You want to expand, but screw me, right?
But like, at least the London games don't start until what, week 4 or 5 ish. You know,
it's usually Jacksonville every time too. So,
right, whatever. If that's what they want to do, then so be it. But
and real fast in the comments, let me know what you guys think about these games that are overseas, different countries. Like, what are your thoughts? Are they worth it? I mean, do you like them? Do you hate them? What's your thoughts? Begin, Frank. I'm sorry.
Like I said, it's just I don't like the idea of doing it week 1. Like, you need to wait later on in the season. Let these guys get into the swing of an NFL season before, because I feel like this game, I mean, you're traveling that far away. I have a really bad feeling about it injury wise as well. You know what I mean? We've never played over there.
We're both not close. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, like Wisconsin's up top. We're off to the northeast. I mean, when you travel down, it's a long trip for both squads. It's not like we're playing against. I mean, if you want to have like the Arizona Cardinals and like the Dallas Cowboys face off in Sao Paulo, fine. They're the closest place.
That's not going to make money though.
I know. I'm just saying. Okay, fine. Dallas and Houston, two Texas teams face off in a South American place where literally it's not that far from Texas, by the way. It would sell tickets, and you keep the Northeast left alone. That's too damn far.
Well, I don't think the Texans fan base is big enough.
Another home run for the Philadelphia Phillies. Bryson stopped 5-0 Phils over Pirates. Craig from Patton. I like the idea of sharing football with the rest of the world, but if you are a season ticket holder and it's a home game, you get screwed out of a game. And yes, that is true. And from what I've heard, there is no price difference whatsoever. They are not changing the packages at all. You're paying exactly what you used to pay. So for all those Jaguar fans with season tickets, and they go to London every year, they do not get reimbursed, and they'd still pay as if it was 17 or 8, 9 games, whatever it is. But that being said, there's also another benefit. If they do play 9 at home next year, if they give up 1 game this year, then they do end up actually getting all 9 of those games for the same price. So really, I think the idea is as long as you're holding them long term, you get your money back year after year. It's just for that year you kind of get screwed. So, yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from, though. And then moving on, so obviously it's a big one. I mean, we've never been to South America yet. It'll be interesting to see how that goes and how that fan base accepts everybody. Hopefully those guys can be safe and hopefully there's no issues. Obviously, there's all kinds of crazy stuff in the world in South America these days. So hopefully it's nice and clean. So one of the things we were going to talk about now, if you guys did not see it on the NFL Elite Banter page on Facebook, please do like and follow the page. That is where we will have all updates for giveaways and things like that on. I did post before the show went live. There is a link there. It takes you right to PFF so you can fill out a mock draft. And the email address is also listed. So all you got to do, click that link, make a mock draft, email it over. And in case you didn't see it, there's only 2 rules. Rule number 1, you have to like and follow the page. We're not going to give away $50 gift cards to somebody who doesn't watch the show. And you also just have to submit only 1. So please do not flood us with 75 mock drafts because you couldn't make your mind up on who was going to go 1 through 10. So please pick 1, trust yourself, believe in yourself, send it in. That's the one that we're going to use anyway. The first one that we see come from you, that's the one that's going to count. And by the way, me and Freight Train will also be going at it. We are going to have our first annual host competition here. We are going to try to do the first round and see how many we get right, and we're going to battle each other, not you guys. We're not involved in the winning of the $50 gift card. No gift card for us. Although it'd be nice to win my money back.
I was going to say, how would you feel if you won your own prize? It's just like I wouldn't feel the same.
I would give it to whoever finished second. That's all I would do.
It'd be like being an Indian giver.
Well, I really like to say stuff like that in these days. I don't know if that's politically correct.
It'd be like a guardian giver.
There you go. That's better. Yeah. See, you get what I'm saying. Canceled. Listen, 14 episodes in, we made it before we got canceled. Good for us. I'm proud of us. We made it 12 episodes longer than I thought. Episode 1, we were just saying hi to everybody. Episode 2 is we started coming up with topics. And I'm like, oh boy, But no, and for all you guys watching, I appreciate you. But we're going to hop into the first actual topic. This is one that everybody's been discussing, whether you watch NFL Network, ESPN, whether you follow different sports writers, columnists. And that is the biggest sleepers in the NFL draft. So we're all talking about the obvious. We're talking about the J.J. McCarthy's and we're talking to Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May and knocking over our microphones on live podcasting. We're talking about all these things right now, but nobody's talking about some of these other success stories that there have been over the last 3-4 years in college of guys who are going to go on. Listen, it happens every year. It's not just first rounders that become starters or all pros or pro bowlers. We see a lot of second rounders, third rounders, fourth rounders, etc. So we thought it'd be a little bit of fun to try to dig through, see if we could find some gold in the midst of all the chaos. Robbie DeFeo, how's it going, man? Thanks for tuning in. So I'm going to start with you here, Free. I know you had a list that you were writing down over there earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Who is one of your biggest sleepers in this NFL draft this year?
One of my first. No, we did 5 each, right? We have 5. So
I just had a random assortment.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to start with probably my biggest sleeper, and it's going to be at the wide receiver position. I know everybody knows like the big name wide receivers, but this guy I feel like you can get probably at the end of the second round, possibly third round. His name is Emeka Egbuka from the Ohio State University.
Yep.
He did have a couple injury problems last season, was kind of in and out of the lineup. But from what I've seen, I watch a lot of Ohio State football. I'm a Ohio State Buckeyes fan. He gives me Garrett Wilson vibes. Very, very solid hands and runs great, crisp routes. So he would be a solid pickup in that early third round is what I'm kind of projecting him to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think he's going to be a good player. So what Robbie was just saying was wide receiver out of South Carolina, Xavier Legette. And I did hear he was pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't follow South Carolina college football too much. I don't think I've watched a Gamecocks game since Jadeveon Clowney was down there. But, I did hear that he is one hell of a player. So we'll see. But one guy that was on my list, and I was just kind of scrolling through different things today, like looking at Fox and whatever, trying to get an idea of who I wanted to go with. Not in any order, obviously. One guy I do like, and I forgot all about him, to be honest, until I was looking through some of these articles. Braylon Allen, running back for the Wisconsin Badgers. I mean, this guy was an absolute beast, 6'1", 235, averaged 5.9 yards per carry in college, and 35 TDs in just 3 seasons. I mean, that is that is far from shabby numbers. I mean, and he was a killer. I mean, I don't think he's going to become, like the star of the league by any means. But if you're a team looking for a high-end number 2 back, or if you're a team right now, like, for example, Cincinnati with Zach Moss, it wouldn't kill you to pick up a guy like this that can kind of add a little bit of that versatility. He's a downhill runner. He's not going to be the fastest guy, whatever. He's going to come down at you, but the guy can pound the ball into the end zone. And one thing that Cincinnati has struggled with, even with Joe Mixon, was those short yard to gain type situations at the running back position. So I think he could be a huge asset. And he's a guy we're not going to talk about until maybe middle to end of second round, maybe early third round, maybe even later, depending on how far running backs dropped in this draft. But this guy's a beast. He has the speed for it. He did not run a 40, but, 32-inch jump, 9'9" broad jump, 225. Second strongest amongst all of them with 26 reps of 225 pounds. Dude's a monster. I think he can be one hell of a running back.
Yeah, I agree. My next one, I'm going to move to the defensive side of the ball. I got Malik Mustafa from Wake Forest. A lot of people don't know who he is. He's a little bit undersized, so I can see him going at the later rounds. But you want to talk about a safety that can absolutely lay the wood. That's Malik Mustafa. Go on YouTube and watch some Malik Mustafa videos. You won't be disappointed. And this guy is an absolute muscle hamster. He is absolutely built. He plays pretty well in coverage for his size. Some decent speed. I think he could be a solid, really good backup safety for, the beginning of his career to possibly groom into a starter eventually.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll stay on the offensive side for a second. There's another guy nobody's talking about. A former teammate of Odunze, one of Penix's big targets in Washington. Nobody's talking about this guy at all. I thought he had a phenomenal career in Washington. Jalen Polk, wide receiver. Dude was an absolute baller, and nobody talks about him because he wasn't the number one guy. He wasn't that flashy guy, but this guy can ball. I mean, and not only that, he had a phenomenal pro day. I mean, he's 6'1", 203 pounds. He's a big boy. He has a big body. Runs a 4.5, 240. Not the fastest, but for his size, that is not a bad speed at all. 4.5, 240 at 203 pounds, 6'1", and his vertical is 37.5. Broad jump is 10.9. I mean, this guy has the jumping ability. He has the hands for it, has enough speed, and he also has that go up and get it type mentality, which, by the way, in the NFL, in case you guys haven't noticed, is becoming one of the most important things to do, because these quarterbacks are just Hail Mary chucking these balls half the time. And he's just one of those guys you want. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a guy. I think he's going to start off somewhere as a 3, maybe a 2 option, depending on where he goes. But I think he's definitely somebody who's going to stand out big time. Again, Dunze benefited from having him around, and I think he has the right build to be able to really take the next step in the NFL.
I agree. I'm gonna go. I'll stay on the offensive side. This guy, and it's kind of hard to put first round picks in as sleepers. I'm just kind of basing. I'm just kind of classifying them as they might get picked later, and then at season's end, when they do like a redraft, that these guys will be higher on boards than what they actually go at.
You can do that. That's fine. I can do that too.
I'm gonna put Adonai Mitchell in here, the wide receiver from Texas. I think while Xavier Worthy is getting all the headlines with his 40 time at the combine and whatnot, I think the best receiver on that team was Adonai Mitchell. He's got size, he's got speed, and he's a really, really good route runner. That's the main factor with good wide receivers in the NFL now. You have to have the ability to run routes. You can't just freelance like Odell Beckham. We see how far that got him. Yeah. When you run crisp routes and the right routes, you usually turn out to be one hell of a wide receiver in the NFL. And I think Adonai Mitchell has all the tools to be possibly up there with Marvin Harrison Jr. as one of the better wide receivers to come out of this class.
I think if you're looking for receivers, this is the draft to do it. I mean, like you got to drill these guys in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. There's going to be plenty of guys that slide a lot further than they should, just like Puka Nacua did last year. You always see it. You're always going to find those diamonds in the rough. I mean, while everybody is going to go crazy for the Worthies and, all these Adunzes and the Marvin Harrison Juniors, and everybody's battling on who they're going to go to, there are guys out there that are very, very, very good, just maybe not as talked about as the rest of those names are. But by no means does that mean these guys are not going to step in and play big ball. And let's be honest, in the NFL, you can't have too many good wide receivers.
Right.
Pittsburgh knows the same thing right now. So they're trying to fight for whatever the hell they can get at wide receiver.
We have a bunch of wide receivers, but they're all the same trick pony.
They're all wide receiver 4s that run the slot. Yeah. So
right, yeah.
You're going to see the first ever formation where 4 wide receivers line up in a straight line next to the right tackle.
Everybody's just running the middle.
We're all going to go straight. One's going to zigzag. One's going to go out. One's going to cut out. One's going to go straight. It's just going to be a whole wild ass route. Yeah. It's going to be like the Colts with no offensive line all over again play. Robbie made some really good points on here, by the way. So I'm going to make sure I give him some love because he definitely made some good calls. Austin Booker from Kansas is one of them. 8 sacks last year, 12 tackles for a loss. Illinois tight end, Tip Rittman, dude, 6'5", 4.64 40. I remember watching the 40-yard dash like, Jesus Christ, why is an offensive lineman running the 40? And then he did say as well, Emeka Egbuka is very underrated. I totally agree with that as well. He's going to be a beast. I'll tell you what, if we're going to stick with some of these first rounders, it's going to be like regrettable one day. And I'm just going to say it because I've been hyping this guy up all season, so I'm not going to stop now. You gave me the room to be able to do it. People are going to regret this. He's going to go down as one of the top 3 QBs in this draft. I think he could be the best in the draft. Bo Nix being drafted, talking about being drafted 16th through 20th. That's an insult, in my opinion. I mean, again, we brought the numbers onto this show. If you guys get a chance, I think it was 2 or 3 shows ago. So either episode, I guess that would be 12 or 11. We did sit down and we went over the side-by-side of Caleb versus Bo and even Jaden versus Bo. And there's no reason to hate on Bo, yet everybody talks about everybody else. And he is the guy that if I'm a GM and I have like the 8th pick in the draft, that's where I'm going with Bo Nix. I don't care if it's risky. That's where I'm going. Yeah, I do think Bo Nix being drafted 15 or later is an insult. I don't think for any reason why he should be outside of the top 10. He's going to fall out of the top 10, obviously, but It's shameful because I think he's better than McCarthy. I think he's better than a lot of these guys, and nobody's talking about him.
Right. And the thing with Bo Nix is, like, if I'm a GM and I'm picking a quarterback and I see a guy that has all the intangibles, but has shown in his stat sheets that he has progressively advanced every single year of his college career, I'm taking my chances on that guy because that tells me he's very teachable. He learns from his mistakes and has, a chance to run a really, really good offense like he did in Oregon. I mean, the year before Bo Nix got there, Oregon's offense was kind of puttery. And he comes in there and now they have like a top 5, top 10 offense in college football rather than Caleb Williams and all these other guys that kind of, they got up there and then they kind of plateaued and they were the same player throughout their whole career. Bo Nix has progressively gotten better.
The problem I have too is, this is a passing league. That's what this is. And we can talk about everybody wants quarterbacks to have mobility. I get that. I fully understand. Like, Bo Nix is not going to be the most versatile quarterback in this draft. He's not. Nobody's going to argue that. But if you're looking for what you need in a QB, where throwing the ball is your number one priority, that is 80% of the league today. It is.
Right.
And it's not like I'm making that. I'm making up the exact percentage. It's not exactly 80%. But if you look at numbers, every year NFL running back carries go down. Salaries go down for a reason. Then you got carries by committee, things of those nature. Like, the league is not as much of a running league as it used to be. This is about throwing the football and making this happen. In my opinion, Bo Nix is going to go out there and he's going to give you 3 TDs a game most of the time, and he is going to be your safest bet. Not to mention, I think he also had a lot less flashy options in college than some of the other guys that we're talking about. Caleb playing with Jerry Rice's kid, and, Penix playing with, one of the guys that was my sleepers this year in Cole, and also having a Doomsday. These guys were all coming from top-tier teams. Like, you got Michigan, national championship team. McCarthy looks great, sure, because he had greatness around him with a great O-line and great receivers and a great running back and a top 5 defense. But what is going to happen when he goes to a team like Minnesota where the O-line is not built 100%? Yes, he has Justin Jefferson. Yeah, you got KJ Osborne. You got a couple guys in there. But by no means is this going to be Michigan again. So, to me, I think he's ready day one. I think he's a guy that I would be confident. If I'm a really bad team right now and I just need somebody to play QB, that's where I feel most confident. Robbie says Bo Nix is the only safe quarterback to draft overall. The others in this class. I agree. I just think the intangibles are there. And when you watch him play, he doesn't throw 6 touchdowns one game and then have 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2. He throws 6 and then 4 and then 5 and then 6 and then 3 and then 4. That's what you want. You want consistency. Caleb Williams does not give you that. Either does Jaden Daniels.
Right.
Blows my mind. But I'll tell you what, we'll do one more here and we can move on from this topic.
Oh, man.
One more guy. Give me one more guy.
Jeez.
Why? Did you want more than one more?
Guy, and how about one more guy and then like an honorable mention? Where we won't delve too deep into it. We'll just give the name.
I'm not sure if you're still watching the show, but you're pulling a real Shane Statmiller on me right now. Whenever he makes a list, I'll give us top 10. He has a top 35 list, and he has to honorably mention. It's only 25 honorable mentions. Love you, Shane.
Yeah.
Right. Who do you got?
Okay. I'm gonna go with this guy first, and then I'll do my honorable mention
Agreed, Rob.
afterwards. My next guy that I absolutely love, he's probably one of my favorite players coming out of this draft. They project him at the end of the first round, which I think is bogus because I think every team could definitely use a guy like this on their defensive line. I'm going with Trevondre Sweat from Texas, the defensive tackle. You want to talk about a guy that's 362 pounds and can absolutely move, maul people. I think he's going to be one of the most underrated players in this draft, and he's going to skyrocket on that after the draft rankings at the end of the season, especially for teams that need help in run defense. You're plugging a huge gap here. They talk about a guy that can free up linebackers, and I get Quinnen Williams comparisons in my head when you see Trevondre Sweat.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And then,
who's your honorable?
And then my honorable mention, I'm going back to Ohio State, and I've been banging his drum ever since he was eligible to be in the NFL draft. I got Tommy Eichenberg in here, the middle linebacker from Ohio State. Very, very solid tackling middle linebacker. He can do some coverage, but that's not his strong suit. His strong suit is coming into the box, making tackles, hitting gaps, stopping the runners. I think he's a very, very underrated linebacker in this draft, and can really make a difference on some football teams.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I mean, everyone you came out with was pretty solid, by the way, so I'll give you that. I would say the last guy, I'm curious to see how he plays. I think they lit a fire under him. He made a report today, actually, Spencer Rattler. I like Rattler. I do. I mean, I know that everybody hates on the guy. I know. I think what happened was he was the projected all consensus number one pick like 2 years ago. Things don't always go to plan. Sometimes there's going to be some rough things along the way. I think the guy has a lot of, again, I'm not saying he's going to be elite. I'm not putting him with Bo Nix. I'm just saying I think he's going to be a guy who's not going to get drafted until the 4th, 5th, 6th round. Who knows where he's going to go at this point. But I think he's a guy that if you were to draft him, I think he ends up being better than a couple of these guys. I'm not saying all of them. I'm not saying he's going to be top 2, whatever. But I do believe that if you're going for a quarterback in this draft, somebody you want to bring in, you want to build a project around, you're going to get him in the later round. So you got plenty of time to build around the guy. And again, he's not going to be your starter. He'll learn from whoever you have in there. But if you're in a system with an aging quarterback, for example, and you want to bring somebody in to learn, I mean, I think he's a great asset. He's a great project, has a lot of intangibles, great high school career, great college resume for the most part. I like the kid a lot. I know people bash him a lot, but I think he has what it takes. He's one guy. And I guess for an honorable mention, oh man, there was a few that I had, but oh man, it's tough because it's funny. There were some guys I was really hyped on, and now there's not. You know what? I'm gonna have to join Robbie on this. We all talk about Brock Bowers so much. I think Tip Ryman is probably the second best tight end in this draft, and nobody knows who he is. So I will, and it's Illinois. I mean, not a lot of people watch Illinois football. They're more known for college basketball. But I remember the first time I saw him play. I forget who he was playing against, but you know, one of those things you're just watching TV and there's nothing on. You're like, what the hell? But yeah, that guy's. I was like, why is an offensive lineman running routes? That's what it looks like. 6'5". Yeah. Running a 4.640. It looks like somebody gave Jason, or not, I should say Lane Johnson, like 15 Red Bulls and told him to run. That's what he looks like. It's pretty incredible. But so with that being said, Robbie said his honorable mention is MJ Devonshire, DB out of Pitt. I wonder why he chose a Pitt player. That shocks me. And Robbie's saying the same thing. Robbie's saying the same thing I've been saying forever, which is Bears are dumb. They should have kept Fields and drafted Marvin Harrison. I agree, because even if Fields didn't work out, you could have made a move later on. There was no reason to hit the panic button. You hit the panic button. But yeah, I mean, so real fast, though, before we get into the next topic, and the next one's going to be a little bit of fun as well. We're a little bit of opposite day here. Obviously, show some love. Our very first sponsor we ever had, one that we still continue to have, one that I'm very happy to have. He is my father-in-law, but it is a phenomenal shop. AJB Sports Shop, where you can get all of your sports needs, whether it's for your dog, your newborn, your house, yourself, whatever it is. He has it, from terrible towels to jerseys to T-shirts, and he even has some old memorabilia as well that he still has hidden away at the moment. So make sure you guys look him up, ajbsportshop.com, or find them on Facebook at AJB Sports Shop as well. It's a great time. If you guys live in the Middletown, Harrisburg, Carlisle area, there is a shop that he has as well. So if you look him up on the website, there is a location. You can go in there, walk around, take a look at what he has. And there is an email as well. So feel free to shoot him an email, let him know what you're looking for. And if you can find it for the best price you possibly can, he'll do it. So ajbsportshop.com. Tell Artie that Rich sent you. And good luck. I hope you guys find some good gear. I mean, I still take off. I mean, I get it for free for Christmas, but
yeah.
But, and then we have one more sponsor for the show.
Yes. Builder Bros Construction. They're our newest sponsor. For anybody out there that has a torn up roof, gutters, siding, fascia, you name it, anything on the outside of your home, including interior work as well. You want a trusted company to come in and do a fantastic job. That'd be Builder Bros Construction. And right now they have a promo. See, July is also the season of giving, unlike just December. Builder Bros for Christmas in July is giving some lucky listener a chance at a free roof. So go to builderbros.org and register. You can register yourself, or if you know somebody in need that needs a new roof, you can register them as well. Once they get, they'll do a live pick of the people that are registered. It's absolutely free. No money will be owed for this. It's an absolutely free bona fide roof. Excellent quality. A lot of Amish crews. So you know how the Amish people work, man. They do some quality work. So yeah, go to builderbros.org, get yourself registered or somebody else for the Christmas of July special.
Yeah. And I mean, so far from what I've heard from you two, and I've seen some of the things that you've had to deal with so far, it's been pretty interesting. So man, reach out to builderbros.org and also follow ajbsportshop.com. Both of those guys are our very first two sponsors. We appreciate them both. Thank you guys for the support. And if you guys are interested in becoming a sponsor, whether it's for your business, a relative's business, whatever it may be, feel free to drop us an email at nflelitebanner@gmail.com. We will take a look at it. We'll reach out to you, figure something out. We'd love to put an advertisement on the show and go from there, man. So, anyway, thank you guys again for being great sponsors and for supporting the show. But moving on, so we just hit on some of the good guys, the guys that we're sleeping on, the guys that we're not talking about. Let's talk about something else. And I think this is a little bit easier for a lot of people to talk about. But at the same time, you never know who it's going to be. And that is the guys to stay away from, the draft prospects to avoid. So if you're the GM, you're told, hey, you're on the clock. Who are we staying away from? And I'm going to lead this one off. And I already told, just before we even get into that, before we started the show, me and Freight Train agreed we're going to stay away from the Caleb Williams and the Jalen Daniels and the Drake Mays. Because obviously we can't blame those GMs. They don't have much of a choice. When you have a top 5 pick, and these guys are projected top 5. The media eats you alive. Your fan base eats you alive. God forbid you don't make the right call. I can't bash Chicago for taking Caleb in this situation. They don't have much of a choice. So we're going to leave those guys out. So if you hear us not mention them, we both can't stand Caleb Williams. But for the record, we will not mention him in this segment because, again, if you're Chicago, you don't have much of a choice. But to start that off, I'm going to tell you what, the guy, Robbie DeFeo, it's funny, that's why I added the disclaimer. The very first thing he says, Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
That would, listen, if I wasn't making the exception, that would be the first one out of my mouth as well. I think the whole top 5 projected would be out of my mouth in a row, actually.
I think everybody else in America, besides if you are a Chicago Bears fan or live in Illinois.
Or you like USC. Yeah, if you're a USC fan of Chicago. Robbie says, definitely stay away from Penix. His pocket presence is horrible. I'm going to tell you what, my number one guy that I'm going to avoid, nobody talked about him at all until Pro Day. I mean, until the Combine. I'm staying away from Xavier Worthy. And now, if he falls, let's just say, for example, he were to fall to a 3rd-round pick, fine, go after him. That seems appropriate to me. I mean, what I'm saying, what I mean by avoid them, I mean avoid reaching for these guys because that's what's happening right now. He's projected a top 20 pick in the draft. I get that he's fast. I know that. But we've seen Tavon Austin. We've seen guys time and time again.
John Ross.
John Ross was the fastest 40 of all time at one point. Even in Pittsburgh right now, they got Calvin Austin III. Philly had Jalen Reagor. We can go on about, Kez Watkins for the Eagles had who Pittsburgh just picked up. These are guys that ran sub 4.5 40s, 4.4 40s, 4.3 40s, and they're not good. Just because you're fast does not mean you can run routes, catch balls, run deep, make the right calls. So
that's just like I said earlier. I don't even think he was the best wide receiver on his own team.
No, I don't either. So for me, I'm staying away from Xavier Worthy. I think Ewers made him look better than what he was. I think he's super fast. He's a return guy. Maybe under these new rules, you draft him in the 5th round as a return guy. Or
I was going to say you're not drafting a return guy in the 1st round.
No,
that's like drafting a kicker.
So when I say I'm avoiding him draft day, I am avoiding him day 1. I'm avoiding him maybe day 2, depending on what's on the board. I can see him being a late 2nd round. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with an early to mid 3rd, but I am not taking that guy in the 1st round of the draft, especially not in the first 20 picks.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just gonna go for the big guys right off the rip here. I'm staying away from JJ McCarthy. I'm not sold on JJ McCarthy, nor do I need to be. And this isn't just me being an Ohio State fan and screw Michigan. But when you look at JJ McCarthy's college record or college stats, nothing jumps out at you. Okay. Yeah. He's never had to be a premier passer. They've ran the ball more than they passed it. I think the combine, he got overhyped. And I think JJ might possibly, if it's even possible, would be the biggest bust in this draft.
Wow.
I just don't see the hype. When you look at his tape, there's nothing that jumps out at you that says, yeah, that guy's a top 10 pick. I'm just not sold on him.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's really tough because I'm looking through some of these guys right now, the projected mock drafts, and I gotta say, another one who I think is, and this is just a thought of mine. I know people love this guy. Another one that I'm not overly sold on is Latu, the edge rusher, 6'5", 265 out of UCLA. I thought he looked a little slow. I know, and the thing is, like, I mean, for him, what I saw from him reminded me more of a DT. I mean, I feel like you don't have to transition him over. I mean, when you're 6'5", 265, beef him up a little bit, maybe get him to 280, put him in the middle. I'm not a fan of having him. That's a big booty to have on the edge. Right. That is a big boy with a lot of weight and a lot of size. My concern is if you watch his college film, he's quick, but it looks like off the edge when he's trying to run. He's a power runner. That's all he is. So God forbid he starts facing off against guys like Lane Johnson, or, you know, you talk about guys in the NFL that have been around for a long time like Tyron Smith, things like that, top left tackles and right tackles. He's going to struggle. I mean, this guy's a big boy. He's not super quick. He's more power. And I'm just concerned about how that translates in the NFL. I mean, I think finesse translates better in the NFL than power does. Because finesse, you can do that no matter how big they are, no matter what. In the NFL, size is a thing, though. Power hitting people is not going to be easy in the National Football League.
Yeah. No, I agree. My next guy, I have Dallas Turner, as I think is going to be a bust. Me personally, I'm not sold on linebackers that come out of the SEC. I know there's been some decent ones, but I just don't like the thought of linebackers from the SEC. If I want an outside linebacker, I'm looking in the Big 10 or the Big 12. Those guys usually come from more pro-style defenses. And I don't see the hype with Dallas Turner. I know, you know, there's, well, look at his numbers. Yeah. That whole Alabama defense was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think he just stuck out like a sore thumb because everybody else was on that defensive line was, you know, getting after it or getting double teamed, and that freed him up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny, actually. I was saying that one of the guys I would go after is Jalen Polk, and this guy mock draft actually has Kansas City taking him 32nd. So that's pretty cool. At least somebody else agrees with me. But I'll tell you what, and I'll give one more. I mean, I don't have a ton. I mean, there's a lot of guys in here, but again, I think a lot of the ones I want to say are guys that I just refuse to get into. I mean, like the Caleb's.
Yeah.
Another guy who really concerns me, speed concerns me, his zone awareness concerns me. His man awareness concerns me. Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. I don't listen. 6'1", 195. They label him a corner, but if I remember correctly, he played a lot of safety. I believe he played safety.
Yeah,
that's a little undersized.
I just get the impression of I don't know how much I trust Kool-Aid coming down and making a tackle.
But that's the thing. If you're going to play that tough style corner like they're looking for in the NFL, or you're going to play a safety role, even if they transition you that way, I need my safety to make hits. I mean, you think about top safeties of all time, we can call them all big hitters. I mean, all of them. Like, Ed Reed's known for interceptions, but that boy can hit you if you wanted to.
You could tackle.
You know,
absolutely.
Polamalu could hit if you wanted to. B-Dog, Steve Atwater. I mean, we can go back and talk about all kinds of guys. You know, John Lynch was. Oh my God, John Lynch was another one. But there's a lot of guys. Like even back with the Giants, a guy like Jason Sehorn who had a pretty good career for a while. Like Sean Taylor, Pro Bowl. Ask Steve Morgan how that felt. I mean, these safeties have always been known to be the ones that have to make those big plays over the middle of the field. Malcolm Jenkins during the Super Bowl against Brandon Cooks. I mean, that hit changed the entire landscape of that football game. When you're a safety or even a corner in today's league with the passing league the way it is, you got to be a short tackler. This isn't the 90s anymore where you can be a corner with great coverage. Like Deion Sanders would be terrible in today's football league as far as tackling goes. He couldn't tackle. Great pass.
He didn't want to tackle.
He didn't have to because back
he said that's why we have linebackers.
Yeah, back then you didn't have to, but now with how many balls are being caught on short routes and how many intermediate plays there are in the passing game, you have to be able to tackle. You're a corner.
Mhm.
You're the last line of defense. Or if you're going to play safety, you're really the last line of defense. So for me, my concern about Kool-Aid is the man-to-man coverage doesn't sell me. I think he's good zone, but like that means you got to put him on a team that is going to have a lot of good guys around him in that secondary to cover up the fact that he's a zone scheme guy.
Mhm.
And I just don't see it. I think Bama kind of covered him up and kind of hid his weaknesses, but showed off his strong suits.
Mhm.
But I don't think Kool-Aid's gonna be that good. I really don't.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, and Robbie said he's staying away from Cooper regime. I don't know how.
I think he gets moved. I think he gets moved to the inside as a safety.
People have Philadelphia taking him. I really hope not.
He's an athlete, though. I won't.
He is.
He's definitely an athlete.
I mean, if there's one place for him to go to get better to learn, even though he's kind of fallen off, Bradbury did have a great career, has the right idea as far as the intangibles. Darius Slay is there. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Eagles go secondary here in the first round. Depends on who's there. I just really hope it's not Kool-Aid. The name's fun to say, but it's not going to be fun to say when I'm throwing my remote at my television, shattering a flat screen every week. I'm not going to enjoy that. And one of the new things that we've been doing here, and did you have anything else you wanted to add before we moved on from that topic there?
I don't think so. No. I mean, there's a million. Gotcha. I mean, we could go on for hours about guys that we think aren't going to be, that great. But
yeah, no, absolutely. I'll tell you what. So there's one thing that we've been doing. I think for what this will be our third week now, I believe. We like to have our 1v1 comparisons. We'd love to hear you guys and see what your thoughts are on who you're taking and why. So last week, I think we did Randy Moss and T.O. We all kind of agreed you couldn't go wrong. The week before, we kind of agreed you couldn't go wrong, which was LT and Adrian Peterson. This week, I think the same thing. You can't really go wrong. I mean, there's a couple questionable things in here. But this week's side-by-side comparison of who would you rather have, Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers? It seems appropriate. They've been playing against each other since day one. Not to mention, both have MVP, both have a Super Bowl, both have a hell of a track record in Green Bay. I mean, the comparisons are very. And it actually even gets creepier because Brett Favre goes from Green Bay to the Jets, Rodgers goes from Green Bay to the Jets. We'll see if he ends up in Minnesota next. That could be possible. What's crazy is right now with how the rosters are, if Rodgers gets traded to Minnesota, I'm going to shit myself, and the league's definitely rigged. The league is definitely rigged if that happens.
Yeah.
If Jordan Love ever plays for the Jets, I swear to God, I'm going to lose my shit. So anyway, now obviously it's a very, very close comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going with and why? Who are you comfortable with?
Well, the thing is with both these guys, they seem to struggle when it came down to crunch time. Now, I know each one of them has a Super Bowl. Each one of them has a Super Bowl, and you can't take that away from them. But I felt like in big games, they kind of never really showed up. They had a lot of, turnovers, and they were part of the reason why their teams lost. But with that being said, they're both Hall of Famers.
Yep.
But
first ballot.
I think just out of preference on how I like the quarterback position played, I'm going to go with Brett Favre. I like the gunslinger that Brett Favre was.
Minnesota doesn't. Don't talk about the gunslinger Brett Favre in front of Minnesota fans.
Yeah. I feel like when I needed a throw, Brett Favre was there. And I'll never forget the game against the Raiders when his dad passed away.
Yep.
And it's one of the most memorable games I've ever watched. And I wasn't that old, so that really turned me on.
I was young. I got teary-eyed in that game. I was young.
It really turned me on and turned Favre into a more likable guy until he decided to retire and unretire 4 different times, which Tom Brady seems to be wanting to, I guess, do the same thing.
An hour ago, he said he wouldn't mind coming back.
Yeah. But just out of a preference of what I like to see in a quarterback, I like big armed quarterbacks, and Brett Favre is certainly one of the best big arm quarterbacks in the history of the NFL.
I think Rodgers is right there. I mean, he has a hell of an arm too, though.
Yeah, but they both kind of played it a different way. You know what I mean? They didn't play it the same way.
Would you argue? And again, it's debatable. I think I mean, you can debate anything these days. I mean, you can debate if the sky's blue and the grass is green for all you want.
Yeah.
I agree, by the way. I'm taking Brett Favre. And I was hoping I wouldn't agree with you. I was hoping you were going to take Rodgers so I could battle you on it. On this show, we do try to pick different things to make it more interesting. Right. However, and again, I can see the argument for, and Robbie, I can see the argument for Rodgers. I mean, obviously, the guy's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Whenever we're talking first ballot guys,
and Rodgers is a lot more. Rodgers was a lot more mobile as well.
But the thing I have is not only did Favre play a really long time, he didn't miss games. I mean, the guy was always playing ball. And yeah, you're right. He did turn the ball over a lot. However, there's a lot of wins that happen because of that game style as well. Now, we can call it crucial plays and crucial moments, whatever you want to do. I would argue, what I'll start off by saying there a minute ago was, I would argue Rodgers has had much more talented teams than Brett Favre.
100%.
I mean, you can argue different position type situations. I mean, you could argue, for example, Brett Favre had Amon Green versus Rodgers with Lacey and, Brian Grant and guys like
Aaron Jones. He had Aaron Jones for a little while.
Well, I mean, for a short time. I mean, like, Amon Green played, 4 years or so with Favre. But, I mean, before that, I think they won the Super Bowl right after they won the Super Bowl, like Dorsey Levens, who ended up playing for the Eagles for a while. Like, he didn't have, these monster guys.
He had Sterling Sharp as his tight end, right?
Not the same as Shannon, though.
Well, no.
I would say the best player that Brett ever had to play with was probably Donald Driver. That was probably the best player he ever had. Wide receiver Donald Driver was his bread and butter all day long. Rodgers had some guys, man. Jordy Nelson could ball. Greg Jennings could ball. Robert Tonyan. He had some decent run games, some really good defenses over the years. I mean, he's had guys. He's had teams around him. And they both had one thing in common. And everybody likes to make him – Randall Cobb was a good option. But people love to make Rodgers look better by saying, oh, well, they never drafted him early round talent at receiver. Name a first round pick that Brett Favre got at wide receiver. I'll wait. I mean, not to mention, I would also argue that when Brett Favre was playing, even his division was a lot tougher than it was when Rodgers was playing there for a while. I mean, it depends on Minnesota with Randy Moss and Culpepper, and even before that with Chris Carter, and he faced off against guys like Peterson and all them guys while they were in Minnesota. I mean, he played against some really, really good, talented teams. We love to show in the Bears. Remember the Bears in 2006 went to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. So again, you can argue Brett Favre all you want. You can argue Rodgers if you want to. I love the gunslinger mentality. I love the fact that I know my quarterback, the most important ability is availability. I know that he was an Iron Man, and he's going to be a guy who I can at least rely to show up. Whereas you watched Rodgers last year, and he played for 34 seconds, and it killed the entire Jets' season. With Favre, he might have lost some games Rodgers would have won you, but at least he'd be there to play them. I mean, that's my mindset. And you can't argue the yardage. You can't argue the touchdown passes. You could say, oh, he played for a really long time. But all these guys played for a long time now. So at this point, I mean, I have to go Brett Favre. But I could accept the contract.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with either one. Like I said, they're both going to be Hall of Fame. Well, Brett Favre already is a Hall of Famer, and Aaron Rodgers will be once he decides to hang the cleats up.
Bears will answer, but they had a better quarterback. I think they needed a couple more things than just a QB that year, though. I mean, it was a weird year. Chicago probably should have made it in the first place. I'll tell you what, they would have won if they weren't playing a very, very hungry Peyton Manning. You were playing against Peyton Manning, Edwin James. You had Marvin Harrison in his last year. Reggie Wayne, a young buck, starting to kill it in the NFL. Great defense. They would have won, but they would have needed a lot more help even than just quarterback. I mean, they were playing a hell of a Colts club.
Well, yeah, honestly, their best offensive player was probably Thomas Jones.
That year, maybe. I mean, they didn't have the best team in the world.
Or was it Cedric Benson? It was one of those two. It was one.
Didn't matter. I mean, it didn't matter. I was shocked they made it in the first place. That was like an absolute fluke. Look at Rex Grossman's seasons before and after that season. I mean, he ends up going to Washington and got even worse.
Yeah.
Back then is when you went to Washington to have your quarterback career die, like Jason Campbell and all them guys. What a mess. But yeah, I'm taking Favre. You're taking Favre. Robbie's taking Rodgers. Anybody else, feel free to chime in. Let us know who you're taking. Let us know why. I always love to see all the arguments because people always give you the most wild reasonings for things. I mean, I'll tell you what, we can probably save this topic for next week. Looks like we're already at 55 minutes. I know you got some other things you got to get to as well here. They had Musa Muhammad. Musa Muhammad was good. He was a better Panther, though. I feel like Musa Muhammad was better known for his time as a Panther with Steve Smith. But yeah, he was good. Real fast before we get out of here, just another shout out again to our sponsors. I appreciate all you guys, Boulder Bros, AJB Sports Shop. We appreciate both of you guys. You guys signed when we were small. You guys gave a lot of faith in us. We appreciate you both.
Yep.
As for everybody who watched the show tonight, obviously we appreciate you guys. Remember, the mock draft post is up. I would love to have everybody participate. Right now, we've had a few entries so far, but as we get closer to draft day, I'm sure we're going to get some more of them. So, again, if you want to take some time, think it over deep and hard, remember, you get one entry. By all means, check us out on Facebook, NFL Elite Banner. The post is up. The link is right there. The email address is listed. There's no more excuses about how do I do this. Everything should be right there for you. If you have any questions, feel free to message Richard David West III on Facebook or just message the page. Anything that you want to say before we hop out of here, Freight?
No, NFL draft's coming up soon. Getting pretty excited for that. Everybody thinks their team's going to the Super Bowl at this point. They're only one piece away.
Everybody's one piece away.
Yeah, but I appreciate everybody checking in with us tonight. Tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your friends, tell your family. Anybody that's an NFL fan.
Yeah.
Tell them.
Yeah. Well, and next week is going to be the last episode before the draft. So it's funny. Our show is usually Thursday at 8 o'clock. Well, 2 weeks from now, the night of the draft is going to start at Thursday at 8 o'clock. So we will be. So I'm not sure about what Freight Train is doing yet on that Friday, but we will be going live during the draft Thursday, 8 p.m., April the 25th. It is night one of the draft. We will both be live. We will be breaking down the picks in live time. We will be going over our thoughts on it, and I'll also be having some of the mock drafts that you guys submit off to the side. And then depending on what his schedule is, I will be doing it no matter what. Maybe I'll find some random people to rotate in and out. On Friday at 7 p.m., April 26th, will be the second and third round of the NFL draft, and I will also be going live for that to give my live thoughts on some of the guys that are being drafted at that time. So by all means, next Thursday is our last regular show before the draft special. We will be going live 2 days in a row, Thursday and Friday, Thursday at 8, Friday at 7, live in time with you guys. Come on, BS with us. Give us your thoughts as we're going through. And let's get disappointed together because our GMs always find a way to get us confused. Like, Jalen Rader over Justin Jefferson a couple of years ago. One of the best players of all time. Or Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning if you're a Colts fan. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
With that being said, guys, much love. 14 episodes, which means we've been doing this for 3.5 months. It's been a fun time. We're going to keep this rolling. We're going to go as long as we can. And it takes you guys and your input to make this show as successful as it can be. So please do share, like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, tell your colleagues. If they like football, tell them to check us out for 5 minutes, and we'll try to give them a reason to stick around. So that being said, everybody have a wonderful night. Enjoy your Thursday. And we will not see you till next week. So have a great weekend. Don't get too drunk, and we will see you next Thursday.
Adios.
We are out.